Okay, so as promised, today I'm going to be making roasted curried ginger pumpkin soup. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get your pumpkin into the oven and start roasting right away. And I just use a little bit of olive oil, toss it in it to coat so that it's covered pretty well. Let me take that piece out. Forgive me, I have a little bit of a cold, so I've have some voice. I just put a little salt on it, probably about a teaspoon or so. And this just gives a little flavor when it's roasting. And I like to roast my vegetables before I make soup, squashes especially, because the roasting helps bring out the natural sugars in the squash, and it helps break it down and soften it so that when you puree it, you get a nice, really nice smooth puree out of it. So I'm going to just put it on this baking sheet, and I'm going to put it into a 450 degree oven, and I'll take it out when it has some nice color on it. Should be maybe 20-25 minutes or so. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sweat out my onion and my ginger and my curry, and into the frying pan I put about a tablespoon of butter, and I'm going to put the burner on medium heat, and I'm going to do a quarter of a cup of finely minced ginger, and I'm going to saute that with my onions, and that helps release the oils and the flavors. And I'm also going to sweat the curry and the turmeric in that as well, because that also helps to develop the flavors of the curry and the turmeric. And it also cooks out that kind of weird powdery feel that it gives if you put it into food raw. It's one of the things that you learn first in Indian cooking is how to make curries, because so much of their food is curry based, and they always start by cooking their curry, which is just a really good thing, and it helps develop those oils and gives a really nice depth of flavor. So that's what the minced ginger is going to look like. It's a really small mince, and now I'm going to mince a medium sweet onion. I'll get that going. I'll get that in the saute pan. Now, this recipe calls for a cup of stock, and you can use whatever stock you like. I use vegetable stock because it's a pumpkin soup, and so I feel that a vegetable stock is more appropriate. Some people use chicken stock for the sodium. You know, I add my own salt to things. I prefer not to use over large amounts of sodium in my food. You know, back before I lost all my weight, I had high blood pressure problems, and you know, one of those reasons is from getting too much sodium in your diet. So we'll just do a little medium chop on those, and we're going to get them in the frying pan. Get them cooking. I'm going to throw the ginger in there with it. And I'm going to put a tablespoon of curry powder into that. That's Murphy in the background, because he's always checking out what I'm doing. Into that I'm also going to put 1/3 a teaspoon of turmeric. Unfortunately, when you do videos and stuff on YouTube, and you do them from your iPhone, you don't get the luxury of those awesome breakaways like they do on the fancy schmancy cooking shows. But Hey, one day I might be on one of those fancy cooking shows. You never know. That'd be great. I've applied to be on Chopped, I think 5 times now. Maybe that's just not in the cards for me, right? Who knows? Who knows? Alright, so we got that. Now in my stock pot, I have 2 bay leaves, and this is a star anise. And I broke off 2 of the little prongs, and I put that in there along with 3 whole cloves. And I'm going to let that steep a little bit, because I like those nice warm winter flavors that you get from soup, and these are really, really warm, comforting, very herbaceous and aromatic herbs to use. So I like to use those in my cooking. And the reason that I steep those, and I have 3 bay leaves in there as well, if I didn't mention that. And the reason that I like to steep those in the water, as opposed to like using ground, I'm just giving the onions and the curry and the ginger a stir. I'm going to add just a little bit of olive oil to that. And I use a good, I use just a, good Whole Foods organic olive oil. Now you're gonna cook these until they get a little bit of color on them. Not much. You want them definitely super soft and opaque, because you want them to puree out when you put them in the food processor or the pureer. I have an immersion blender at work, which is great for this kind of thing. I don't have one at home, unfortunately. So I guess I should put that on my Christmas list, right? So we got that going. We'll let those cook down a little bit and get it going. And as it starts to cook down, do that for just a little tiny kick of flavor, just a little tiny heat. I'm going to add just a super, super, super small pinch of cayenne pepper. You want to not be standing right over that when you put it into your saute pan when you're cooking vegetables, or you will definitely clear your sinuses out in a big way. I learned that from experience. Alright, so we have that working, and we clean our workspace. Those drawer liners, these are the greatest things really ever. At work, you put a wet towel under your cutting board so it doesn't slide around. Home, I just put one of these under it, and it works absolutely great. And my cutting board doesn't move around at all, so that's really incredible. Alright, I gotta let those things cook, and as they're cooking, I'll come back and we'll assemble the soup and we'll get it all together. Alright, until then, I hope you enjoyed part 1.